Hey Tribe, welcome to 2026. So we've all aged up in our age group. So like for me, my birthday isn't for another 10 months, but according to USA Triathlon, I just got another year older. So good luck to everyone racing in new age groups. So sometimes that's a blessing, sometimes that's a curse. And I will say over the last 15 years, as I've gone through 3 different age groups, I just feel like they just keep getting faster and faster. So I'm not sure at what point it gets easier, if ever, but here's to a great 2026. So today we're going to be looking back just a little bit, back into 2025, and then looking forward into 2026. So as we get diving in today, Ironman recently released the fastest and slowest of 2025. So first, the Ironman races. The fastest were Copenhagen, Les Sables, Vitoria, Hamburg, and Brazil. So none of the fastest courses are in the U.S. Among the slowest courses of the year, Leeds, Texas, Japan, Malaysia, and Wales. So our only U.S. representation here, Ironman Texas. I don't know if that's a big surprise to anyone, but what is a bit of a surprise is the slowest races on average were more than 2 hours slower than the faster races. So a big delta between the fast races and the slow races. So as we go on looking at the individual splits, swim, bike, run, fastest swims, no big surprise here. Chattanooga was the fastest swim, followed by California. Once again, we have Les Sables, Kona, and Cozumel. So a couple of these here make a lot of sense. So I will say Chattanooga, California, those are both downriver swims known for being fast. I think this year they both had good currents, and the results followed accordingly. Cozumel is a wonderful swim, point to point in beautiful, crystal clear Caribbean water, and it is aided by the current. So that is a little different than the river swim, but effectively you're getting the same effect where the water is actually helping you along the way. And then Kona makes sense for a different reason. So obviously here we have the fastest triathletes in the world. So as expected, they're going to have a fast swim split, even though it is a true open water swim out there in the middle of the ocean, non-wetsuit, that type of thing. So those were the fastest swims of the year. Slowest swims, Malaysia, Japan, Texas, Korea, and South Africa. So we have some representation there from the slowest swims that were also part of those slowest races. So including Texas, once again, the only slowest one in the United States. So not making a great case here for Ironman Texas, even though it is a great race and I do highly recommend it. But get your training in and be ready for a good race. Moving on to the fastest bike splits here. So this is where we are biking for show. Fastest ones, Les Sables. Once again, I think that's 3 for 3. Copenhagen, Hamburg, Frankfurt, Vitoria. And so there, once again, Europe. Again, not a big surprise. European races represent all 5 of those. So fast courses over there, and I think as well fast cyclists. So there's definitely a cycling culture over in Europe. So again, not a huge surprise that they are producing the fastest bike splits. Moving on over to the slowest. Lake Placid, France, Leeds, Wales, and Lanzarote. So these are some notoriously hilly courses, and even we're getting into the mountains when we talk about like France and Lanzarote. Some of those are really known for some tough conditions on the bike. And I would say Lake Placid is probably one of the more difficult bike courses for U.S. Ironman events. And this year was also some rough weather. It pretty much rained pretty hard throughout the entire morning and into the afternoon. So it's a tough course to begin with, and the weather didn't make it any faster, any easier. So, all right. And then finally, moving on to the fastest and slowest run splits. Fastest runs, Kona, Copenhagen, Hamburg, Brazil, and Victoria. So these here with the asterisk, Copenhagen, Hamburg, Victoria, those were actually in the same exact position on the bike. So they were fast bikes and then fast runs on there. Kona, for the same reason, it is not a particularly fast course. It has some elevation gain to it. It's got some undulation, but the biggest thing with Kona is that notorious heat and humidity. So it's definitely a participant that is leading to the course in Kona being the fast run. So again, fastest athletes in the world are out there competing. So makes a lot of sense that they are going to be producing those fast splits. On to the slowest runs. Ottawa, California, Malaysia, Texas, and Chattanooga. So we kind of have a reversal here on California and Chattanooga. Both of those were really fast swims. And after you get that real fast swim, unfortunately, you're going to be in for a slower run. Texas once again shows up on the slow side. So it was not one of the slowest spikes, but overall swim and run in Texas. But I got to say, that run course at Texas is, man, it's hard to beat. I will say it's definitely one of the best in North America. So don't let this discourage you from taking part in Ironman Texas. It really is a great race. Ottawa was an inaugural race, so first time there. I don't know if that had any contribution to why that race was a little bit slower, but all good stuff here. So 2025, looking back on the fastest and slowest. So now we're going to largely put 2025 behind us and move on to 2026. So today we are going to be discussing the top 10 tips to totally crush your 2026 training and triathlon. So I've put together 10 things that I think we can work on here, especially early in the year, but also throughout the entire year, that can really make a big difference in your training and your racing as we head into this new year. So tip number 1, hire a coach. Now, you're probably saying that I'm biased, and yes, I make my living as a coach, but I will say I really genuinely believe in the value of a coach. I've been racing for about 16 years now, and vast majority of my racing career, I have worked with a coach, and I will say it has been a benefit to me. It has increased my enjoyment of the sport of triathlon. It has been great to have those partners there along with me, providing advice and feedback, encouragement, accountability, all these things. So I am definitely an advocate for a coach. So even if I'm not the coach for you, I would encourage you to seek out a coach to work with. So what I discovered, and makes a lot of sense, the largest obstacle to hiring a coach is that financial aspect. So a couple months ago when I relaunched Tribe Coaching, I did everything I could to remove that financial barrier. I dropped my price down to $149 for what I used to charge $350 a month for, so a major reduction there. And it's been great so far. Also offering the community training opportunity for just $39 a month. We've had a great response to that as well. So that's going to be the end of my pitch there, but check those out, and I would love to help you in 2026. But working with a coach, one of the benefits is it removes the guesswork. So a knowledgeable, experienced coach is going to really know what you are in store for, especially when it comes to long course racing. So if you don't have experience, or maybe you're taking on a new distance, a new race, all of those things, a qualified coach is going to really help remove a lot of that guesswork. So basically, for myself, throughout my career as an athlete and a coach, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've seen athletes make a lot of mistakes, and I've learned from a lot of those mistakes. So now I know those pitfalls that athletes encounter. So basically, it's a great opportunity to avoid having to learn some of those things the hard way. So it kind of removes some of that trial and error type approach to advancing. You don't know what you don't know. So this kind of goes along with that previous point, but there's a lot of stuff out there. Long course racing is a unique beast, especially when you're talking about the Ironman distance. You have things in those races that you don't have anywhere else. So you may be a very experienced athlete at short course or 70.3s, but if you've never raced Ironman before, you've probably never had things like gear bags, personal needs bags, change tents, all those things that are unique to Ironman and can really cause some confusion and stress and all that. So again, a qualified, knowledgeable coach is going to be able to walk you through all of those caveats that are specific to it. You're going to get objective feedback. And this is one of the things that I really value when working with my coach is sometimes it's a reality check. Sometimes it's encouragement. Sometimes that reality check goes both ways. I may think things are going really well, and they may say, "Hey, we need to really focus on this or reestablish consistency here." Other times it may be the opposite, where I think the sky is falling, but in reality things really aren't that bad. So getting that objective feedback is very valuable. You're going to get individualized training. So I see a lot of athletes, even racing long course, that are basically going out there and either following just a generic training plan, or maybe they're just doing what their training partners are doing. That is not the way to maximize your individual results. So when we're racing long course, you obviously are investing a large amount financially and an even larger amount in time and effort and all these things that go into it. So I see it just as a tragedy that these athletes aren't getting training that is tailored specifically to them, that take into consideration their biometric information, their age, their body size, their years of experience, their gender. All these things that make us up as individuals need to be addressed in individualized training. And if we don't have that individualized training, that it's not going to be the right plan or the best plan for you. You're going to get that expert advice. So once again, a lot of education goes into a coach, a lot of experience. So we've learned a lot throughout the years, and that's one thing I love to do is pass on that information, even here on the podcast. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to do a podcast, was simply because I feel like I had a large amount of advice, and it's a great opportunity for me to be able to pass it along. Coaches are a great source of motivation. Sometimes even just having that person out there, knowing that someone is looking at your training and you are accountable to someone. For me, that's a reality check that is going to get me to be more consistent. I feel like there's a bit of an obligation to that person out there to get in my training. And so for me, it's a very positive thing to have that. So it's not always even just the rah-rah cheerleader, even though that's obviously part of it as well. Sometimes it's just knowing there's a person kind of on the other side of that computer screen looking at the training. And then you have that accountability as well. So we set goals, we set standards for ourselves, we have ambitions, and a coach is a great person to help you stay accountable to those things and provide that the benchmarking and all those things that go into it. So definitely recommend hiring a coach. And all these things that are going to come after, a coach can actually be very beneficial in all these things that we're going to discuss coming up. Number 2, focus on swim form. So we just had a podcast all about swimming. A lot of that talked about the swim form. So for the vast majority of people, this is your largest opportunity for gains. So most of us started swimming as adults. We didn't have that background that some of the better swimmers have. A lot of times there's a correlation between the really good swimmers and the rest of us, that those really fast, really good swimmers, they started sometime before adulthood, started either as a kid or started as a teenager. They swam at school, maybe swam in college. And then the rest of us, we kind of figured it out. I was 29 years old when I started swimming laps as opposed to just playing in the pool, and I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. So a lot of us come to the sport that way, and we have tendencies to develop some bad habits, and sometimes those bad habits are hard to correct. So working on those, addressing those to become a more efficient swimmer is going to be your biggest opportunity for gain. So work with a knowledgeable coach, and this may or may not be your triathlon coach. So I will say there are a lot of great triathlon coaches that have a lot of knowledge and expertise in swimming. But I also know of a lot that don't. So I will say that I kind of pride myself on being a pretty good swim coach. I do love spending time on deck working one-on-one with individuals to address some of those needs. But I have no problem, especially the athletes I work with remotely, having them go work with a local swim coach that can actually be on deck with them, watch them swim, provide that feedback, and help them to improve. But it's very difficult to figure out on your own what you're doing wrong. Oftentimes, especially on the swim, our proprioception is different because we're there in the water. We don't have those points of contact. So what we may feel like we're doing, we may not actually be doing. So a lot of times what we see here is like an athlete will think they're not crossing over. However, they actually may be crossing over really bad. So things like that you don't even necessarily know that you're doing, that's a great opportunity to work with a coach so they can not only tell you what you're doing, but also provide the remedies to be able to fix that. Drill. So this is huge. The best way to implement these changes and to develop that muscle memory, develop that proprioception of what the body is doing, is to do it over and over and over in these drills. So this includes dry land as well. So oftentimes we incorporate drills into our swim sets, but we don't do anything when we're not in the pool. So incorporating those drills into dry land as well can be very beneficial. Doing them under resistance can also help with your strength building. So using things like tubing is really beneficial, both from a standpoint of correcting and reinforcing proper technique while also building strength. Quality yards over quantity. You are not going to swim your way to swimming faster simply by doing more. Doing more incorrectly is just going to reinforce that incorrect technique. So that is a very common approach or technique to try to get better, try to get faster, is to simply swim more. And it makes sense, right? Because there are the fast swimmers, they swim a lot. Some of those high school teams, they swim 10,000 yards a day. And they're swimming real fast. So let's do what they do. Let's swim 10,000 a day. That's not the way to do it. Back off and only swim as many yards as you can swim while maintaining good, proper technique. Once that technique begins to deteriorate, you lose focus. Any of that, we need to shut it down. So especially this time of year when we're not necessarily always trying to build the stamina, build the endurance up, this is a great opportunity to really reduce the amount that you're swimming and really focus on quality yards as opposed to quantity. Include strength training. So already mentioned using those resistance bands, but also going to the gym or even doing some body weight type movements at home to reinforce and to build the strength in those muscles that we're using on the swim. So it is we are looking to generate propulsion. So we are especially using the arms, the backs, the shoulders. So if we can improve and increase the power that we're able to generate, that is going to allow us to swim that much faster. All right, number 3, master open water. So this is a big issue for a lot of people, and I understand for a lot of folks this time of year, you may not have open water, you have open ice. So it may not be optional for you to get out and swim open water through these early months of the year, but as soon as you have the opportunity to do so, and I will say, get in open water as frequently as you can. And that starts with a proper fitting wetsuit and actually putting that wetsuit on correctly. So I see a lot of this where athletes either initially they buy the wrong size suit, or perhaps they have a change in their body. They lose weight, gain weight, so that suit no longer fits properly. So we want to make sure that the suit fits proper. If it doesn't, it is actually going to be counterproductive. It's going to work against you. It's either going to be too tight and restrict your breathing, restrict your movement, or it's going to be too loose and it's going to have an excess amount of water taken on inside that suit. Something else I see quite often is an athlete may have a proper fitting suit, but they don't put it on correctly. This takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of even some experimentation, but we want to make sure that there's not any slack. So what we see, especially with a sleeve suit, is kind of call it like bat wings, to where the arm is not pulled up high enough on the shoulder, so there's an excess amount of neoprene there in the underarm. So that is actually going to restrict arm movement. So you're actually going to be working harder and not getting any benefit from it. The other thing we see often is the legs aren't pulled enough high enough up into the crotch. And so same thing, there's going to be an excess amount of neoprene down there in the waist and around the crotch. So again, not going to be productive there. So learn what your suit on your body is with an optimal fit. Some of the manufacturers actually have little marks that are kind of a suggestion. So like for me, I have Roka suits, and they have little numbers on both the knees and the elbows and the shoulders to serve as a reference. So the suits are going to fit a little uniquely, a little different on each athlete. So it's not necessarily to say that number goes exactly on your elbow or exactly on your kneecap. But once you discover where that suit is on properly and fits right, feels good, then you can actually know where those numbers should be going forward. So like for me, I have relatively short legs for my height. So that little mark that marks the knee is actually kind of above my knee, whereas someone else wearing the same suit with longer legs, that mark would be right over the kneecap or perhaps even below. So make sure you have a good fitting suit and you know how to put it on properly. Get absolutely comfortable in open water. So this is a big thing we see. There are several issues that we encounter when we are not comfortable in open water. And so this is where a lot of people's day ends, unfortunately. They get in that water, they have a panic attack, and they're simply not able to recover from it. A lot of times that comes from a discomfort of being in that open water. So the best way to remedy this is to actually spend more time in the water. So there are some things you can do when you get in. Always recommend splashing some of that water on your face, priming your suit with water before you jump in. Once you get in, do some dives down under the water just to get comfortable, get a feeling for the temperature of the water. If it's salty, you'll find out real quick. Those kinds of things to just get comfortable in the open water. It's also important here to look out for things like SIPE. SIPE is swim-induced pulmonary edema. So this is actually a very dangerous thing that we can encounter while swimming. I've actually known of 2 athletes this year who experienced it, and it is a very serious thing. So the telltale sign is a pink frothy material in your mouth. And I will say only one of the 2 athletes that I worked with that experienced it this year, only one of them actually had that symptom. But if you are starting to feel some stress, things aren't feeling right, and you're having that in your mouth, that is actually some blood that is coming up from the lungs. So if you ever experience that, shut it down, get attention immediately, get out of the water, and seek help on that immediately. Get comfortable in the crowds and in the conditions. So this is another thing that can be stress-inducing, another thing that athletes have a hard time working through, sometimes can end in the end of their day. So get comfortable being in those crowds. So even if you don't have necessarily access to open water, some of these things we can mimic in the pool. So swim in a lane with multiple people, swim side by side and have a little bit of contact there so you can get used to what it feels like to be swimming next to people, and what it's like to potentially recover from a big hit to the head. Sometimes you may have your goggles knocked off, something like that. What are you going to do in the race? Try to replicate that in your training so that you'll know what you're in store for, you'll know how to address it, and it's not going to be the end of your day. Get comfortable in multiple conditions as well. So we all want a nice flat tabletop day for our swim, but we swim in these bodies of water that are not necessarily always in agreement with what we want. So we experience things like high amount of chop, waves, currents. All these kinds of things can make your swim more difficult and more stress-inducing. So as you are able, get more comfortable in these different conditions. And you may need to adjust your stroke as well. So if you are swimming into a chop or some waves, that nice, pretty long stroke that the pool swimmers are great at, that is not going to be your best stroke when you're swimming into water that is coming at you. You're going to need to increase your turnover rate, increase your stroke rate to combat some of that's coming at you. Same thing, if you're going back the other way and you're now riding those waves, you can really make up some ground with a nice, long, slow stroke. Same thing with currents and tides and those kinds of things where the water is moving. You're going to want to adjust your stroke to match those conditions. Learn to swim straight. It kind of seems like a no-brainer, but it's not as easy as you think. If you have any amount of experience in open water swimming, you have probably gotten off course, and if you're like me, there have been times where you got way off course. You thought you were swimming right at the buoy, and you may be swimming 90 degrees the other way. This is one of the best things we can do to improve our swim splits, is to make sure that we're not swimming any more than we absolutely have to. So this is a skill that is dialed in, especially when swimming open water. I say when swimming open water, this is one of the main things we want to focus on and really ingrain, really learn, really get good at is swimming in a straight line, buoy to buoy, not having to make corrections. And you can practice this in the pool. It's not exactly the same, especially when you have crystal clear water, and at most, the object you're sighting on is 25 or 50 meters away. So it is different, but good opportunity there just to, again, reinforce and do what you can to maximize your ability to swim straight and not swim any further than you have to. And then do your best to transplant your pool pace to open water. So this is something that I struggled with for quite a while. I would go and I would swim a pretty good pace in the pool, but then when I showed up in the open water, I would be significantly slower. Sometimes it was as much as 20 to 30 seconds per 100 slower. And one, you don't have that immediate feedback of what a length of a pool feels like. For me, I swim in a 25-yard pool. I know what it feels like. I know what it looks like when those lane ropes are going by, and then you get the immediate feedback. Every time you turn, you can perhaps see the clock or see your watch, so you get that immediate feedback to know how fast you're swimming. None of those things exist in the open water, so we don't have that feedback that we do in the pool. So we don't want to go out too hard, and I think that plays into it a lot of times where we're a little more conservative. I think that was something for me. Early on, there were times where I went out too hard on the swim, blew up, couldn't breathe, and had to reset. So I think that forced me to be a little bit more conservative. So I think that was part of it, and then not having those real-time metrics as well to really tell me how fast I was going. One of the things that helped me work on this was just swimming with faster swimmers and realizing that I could actually keep up with them. So then I was able to learn what that felt like, and from there, that was one of the things that helped me swim faster in the open water. All right, moving on. Get a professional bike fit. So this is something that I talk about on the regular. I really believe in this. We spend a lot of money on our bikes. We spend a lot of time on our bikes, both in training and in the race. So I will say this is perhaps one of my hills I will die on, is get a professional bike fit. And one of the things that's important to acknowledge and look into, not all fitters know triathlon. So a triathlon fit is very different than other forms of road cycling or anything else like that. And obviously those fitters are oftentimes doing a lot more fits on road bikes or other kinds of bikes than triathlon bikes. We're kind of a niche. There's not as many of us as, say, roadies. So we want to make sure that the person doing your fit understands the unique needs of triathletes. So check that out. Make sure that the person who's doing your fit is qualified for triathlon specific fit. Update periodically. So obviously when you get a new bike, you're going to want to get a fit on it. but that's not the last time you want to get a fit on there. So I would say ideally about once a year, it's a good idea to go back and just make sure that things are still good. Our physiology changes, our body changes, so we need to make adjustments on the bike. I would say at least every 2 to 3 years if you don't have that opportunity to do it annually. But again, I would say don't go past 2 or 3 years without just a checkup. And oftentimes fitters are great about this. They're not going to charge you full price for just coming in and checking things out, maybe making a few tweaks here or there. And once again, just ensuring you're in the best position for your events. Order of priority that we want to address when we are talking about bike fit. First and paramount is comfort. We absolutely have to be comfortable in our fit. If we're not comfortable, we're not going to stay down in that aero position. You're going to spend a lot more time sitting up, which is not aerodynamic at all. It's not fast at all. So we want to be able to establish a fit that is going to be comfortable and allow us to spend the vast majority of our time down in that aero position. Next is power generation. So this is paramount again. If a more aggressive fit doesn't allow us to generate as much power, then that's not a good fit for us. So we want to be comfortable. And then our second consideration is where and how can we generate the most power, and then we'll take into account the aerodynamics. So I feel like a lot of times aerodynamics is sexy, and we have these bikes, these wheels, these helmets, all these things. We spend all this money on aerodynamics. So we feel like our fit needs to be extremely aerodynamic. And yes, we obviously want that fit to be aerodynamic, but I would say comfort and power generation actually trump the aerodynamics. So take care of those first. And then once those are established, make your fit as aerodynamic as possible. And then you may need to upgrade some of your components when you're getting these fit done. I would say a very common and very beneficial upgrade that a lot of fitters will recommend to triathletes are shorter cranks. This is something that I resisted for a while simply because my bike had an integrated crankset in it, and I didn't want to go away from this integrated system. But when I finally did go to a shorter crank, it was great for me. I saw an improvement in my speed, but also in my ability to run off the bike. So it opens up the hip angles and really sets you up for a run. So that's one of the main reasons for those shorter cranks. But also a lot of times your cockpit up front, your bars, you may need to make some adjustments there, or they may recommend some other upgrades as well. All right, speaking of the bike, maintain your bike. So once again, we spend a lot of money on it. We spend a lot of time on it. Take care of it. A clean bike is a fast bike. And yes, the inverse of that is true. A dirty bike is a slow bike. So not a whole lot to this. It's pretty simple to do. And it will not only make your bike faster, it's also going to improve the longevity of it. So it's going to last longer and keep you moving fast for longer periods of time. Protect the head unit and the brakes. And this is kind of more of a, not necessarily a winter specific thing, but we do tend to spend a lot of time on the trainer indoors this time of year, and we sweat a lot. So especially we heat up the room when we're in there working out, we sweat a lot, and without the inertia that is propelling us out on the road, that sweat often will drop straight down onto the head unit and onto your brakes. Maybe it's your sports strength that is also kind of spilling in there. All that stuff gets down in there. It can very quickly rust out those bearings that are in there. It can rust the mechanics that help the brakes contract and release. So both of those are bad things when it comes to race day, especially if your brakes aren't releasing like they should. They're rubbing the wheel. That's going to slow you down. So I use a pretty big towel that prevents that sweat from going through. They have some products that you can buy that help to protect your front end while you're on the trainer. But be cognizant of that and make sure that you're not getting an excess of fluid down there on the front end of your bike. Clean or lube clean and lube the chain regularly. So this is something that is so simple to do. Anyone can do this. This is definitely not something you got to go to a mechanic to do. It is super easy. It is super cheap, and it actually makes a really big difference. Obviously, that chain is what is transferring the energy that we're producing by pushing the pedals. That transfers that back to the cassette, which then goes into the wheel. So that chain plays a vital role in producing our forward movement and our speed. So we want to reduce as much friction as possible so we're not losing power throughout that drivetrain. So it's as simple as a little bit of degreaser on an old towel or a rag, getting all the old stuff off, getting that chain clean, and then just a couple drops of oil to get it re-oiled. The whole thing takes literally 2 minutes and costs less than $1. So that is probably one of the biggest bangs for your buck that you can get to make sure that your equipment is operating properly. I'm a little old school. I still do the lubed chain. A lot of folks are migrating over to the wax chain. So a little bit different there. You don't have the regular cleaning or lubing of those wax chains, but you want to make sure that you are staying up on that and re-waxing those chains when necessary. Replace the chain as often as needed. So this can be something that's a little hard to tell. Bike mechanics are going to have a tool that actually measure the chain to see how much it is stretched. Once it is stretched past a certain point, they're going to recommend that being replaced. It varies with power and usage and what type of chain you have. So this is one of those things. Once again, your chain is very important. It's a vital component to transferring that energy that you're producing. We want that to go down that chain and move us forward as quickly as possible. So we want that chain to be in good condition. Kind of a rule of thumb that I have is every time I'm coming up on a big race, I've gone through a large training block, ridden a lot of miles in training, I go ahead and put a new chain on 2 weeks or so before that event. So not putting on right before the race just in case anything goes wrong with it, but getting some miles in to make sure that it's installed properly, it's matching all the gears properly, and that way it's nice and fresh. So it's clean and it's not stretched at all. So that is going to be the best performing that chain is ever going to be. So that's one of the things that I will do right before a big race. It's give or take $100 or so for most chains. So kind of an investment, and then obviously it'll get you through your next training block and all that. So make sure that you are not neglecting the chain. Inspect your brake and cable shifter cables. So whether you have electronic shifting or manual shifting, make sure that you have, if you have the manual shifting, you still have those shifter cables. Over time, those can fray, they can break. Your housings can get corroded, so the cables aren't going to move in there properly. Same thing with the brakes. We want to make sure that those cables move freely without any impingement. And they can, whether it's the sweat, the Gatorade, whatever the case may be, causing those cables not to move quickly or smoothly, that's going to cause your brakes not to operate efficiently. So last thing we want is for those brakes to close and then not release. So that's going to cause a ton of friction on the wheel, and you're going to lose a lot of speed if that's what you're encountering. And then make sure to charge and replace your batteries. So there are several things that we have on the bike now that require these either batteries or charging. So things like your head unit, you're probably charging on a regular basis. Even like your electronic shifting, probably charging that a little more often. But think about things like your power meter. For me, I've had power meters that actually have little watch batteries in them. I've had power meters that charge with a cable. That's what I have now. So it really sucks when you're out on a training ride, or it sucks even worse if you're out in a race and you lose power from your power meter, from your electronic shifting, your head unit, any of those. So make sure to charge those or replace batteries on a regular basis. Same thing with your heart rate monitor. That can kind of go along with it at the same time. If you're coming up on a race, not right before, but again, a week or two before, not a bad idea to go ahead and just replace those batteries so that you know that you're not going to encounter any issues with that during the race. Know how to change a tire. So this is a little bit off of bike maintenance. You consider it bike maintenance, but I want to include this here. I've talked to a lot of bike mechanics, and their largest frustration is athletes that don't know how to change their tire. Yes, most events have roving support out there, so if you get a flat, they're going to be able to come and help you, but who knows how long it's going to take you for them to get to you. So you may be spending a considerably more larger amount of time on the side of the road waiting for that support rather than just being able to do it yourself. A really good mechanic or even just cyclist can change a flat in 3 or 4 minutes, and you may be spending considerably more time on the side of the road waiting for support to get to you. So know how to do it, practice it, be efficient at it. Make sure you have the tools necessary. So your levers, your CO2s, all those things necessary to be able to change a tire. Number 6, commit to drills and dynamic warm-up on your run. So we just had the run episode. We talked about these things. Get in a dynamic warm-up before every run session. So this is important both for the efficiency of the session, also for reducing injury risk. So we talked about several different things that we can do to prepare for those run sessions. And I will say a run off the bike is a great dynamic warm-up. So in that case, that time on the bike, that is your dynamic warm-up. So you don't necessarily need to go and do any of those different activations and drills that we talked about. If you've done amount of time on the bike, that is going to warm you up. That is going to activate your muscles. But on a standalone run, make sure you're getting in dynamic warm-up before each one of those. Address your weaknesses. So kind of like we talked about on the swim, we want to identify the things that we need to work on and then identify the drills that are going to help us to do that. Then those are the drills that we want to do most often. We want to do those drills until that weakness becomes a strength. So make sure that we are doing drills that are going to help us improve. Learn how to properly execute the drills. So once again, like any drills that we're doing, they're only going to be effective if we're doing them properly. In fact, they can actually be counterproductive if we're not doing them properly. So there are a lot of resources out there. So find those drills that are right for you and make sure you're doing them properly. And then translate those over into your run. So be cognizant as you go from that dynamic warm-up and your drill time. Now you're out there running. Be aware, be cognizant. Focus on those things that you worked on the drills. Make sure that you're incorporating those into your run stride. And include them at the end of your run too. So this is something we do quite often, is we will do all of this before the run or maybe early in the run workout, but these actually can be very beneficial at the end of a session as well, or perhaps even in the middle. Getting in some of these drills will actually help reinforce that technique. At the end of our session, our form has deteriorated. As we run, we get more miles, we do more time, our form naturally deteriorates. So doing some of these run drills at the end, and especially focusing on doing them properly, can help reestablish that good technique so that we are not reinforcing those negative behaviors throughout through that run. Number 7, nail the 4 horsemen. So we've talked extensively about this on the podcast. This is a big deal. Fitness determines your potential. Execution determines your finish. So basically, you arrive at that start line with all the potential that you're going to have. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to realize all of that potential. It comes down to how well you execute. So remember, these are pacing, hydration and electrolytes, nutrition and cooling. Those are those 4 horsemen. These are those things that we really have to nail down if we're going to maximize our potential. They have to be dialed in prior to race day. So these are not theoretical. These are not things that we want to guess or just plan for race day. These are things that we want to test and dial in prior to race day. Every session is an opportunity to do this, especially those longer sessions. So what amount of calories are you consuming? What amount of fluid are you consuming? What are you doing to stay cool? All those kinds of things. Test them and have them dialed in so that you can arrive at the start line with a very high level of confidence, knowing that you're going to execute a great race. Number 8, strength training. So we've talked about this before as well. This is something that a lot of us, myself included, chief among us, that perhaps neglect a little bit. So you're going to want to lift heavy. So this is going to focus our attention on the big 3, the glutes, the quads, the hamstrings, in cycling and running, and to an extent in swimming as well. These are muscle groups that we are relying on quite heavily to generate our speed, our distance, all of those things. So these are going to be exercises like squats, leg presses, leg curls, leg extensions, those kinds of things that are really going to target those big three muscle groups. And then kind of as in opposition to lift heavy, lift a lot. So this is going to be more of the upper and lower body, your stability and core. So things like overhead press, tricep extensions, body weight movements, my new favorite, Pilates, yoga, that sort of thing. So this is going to be more of a focus on the upper body. So really focusing on the swim muscles. So again, back, shoulders, arms, that kind of thing, those muscles that we use to generate our swim stroke, and then also the stability. So this is going to be the lower legs, the ankles, those types of things. These are going to be key in maintaining good technique on the run as well as preventing injury. So these are the areas that oftentimes will have an injury when especially among running. So the more we're able to proactively strengthen them, the better off that we are going to be. And then lift smart. Don't get hurt. This is something that's pretty common, pretty easy to get hurt in the weight room, especially if you don't know exactly what you're doing. So in this case, I would definitely suggest considering a trainer that can work with you, can identify the machines, the movements, all those things that are going to be best for you, and then help you determine how much weight you should be lifting, how many reps, how many sets, all those kinds of things that go into it. That's going to be money well spent there as well. Number 9, recovery and sleep. Recover with the same tenacity that you train. This is something that I see a lot of athletes lacking, and I wish we could improve. So we are very tenacious. We are very dedicated in our training. We get upset when we miss training, but I ask my athletes sometimes, when was the last time you were upset because you missed recovery? Oftentimes we don't even think about it. We don't think about neglecting recovery. So recover with the same tenacity and dedication that you train. So things like foam rolling, massage, compression, stretching, all of those things that we're doing proactively before sessions, after sessions, to make sure that our body is staying healthy, staying strong, absorbing all of the impact that we're putting it through, and able to make those adaptations. So things like active recovery. So active recovery is can be the same things that we're already doing: swimming, cycling, running. Generally, they're done pretty easy. And basically what we're looking to do here is just engage those muscle groups, not really tax them, but just get some blood pumping through them, get them activated, and that is going to increase the rate of recovery, reduce soreness, those kinds of things. Proactively address potential issues. So this is something that I always harp on with the athletes that I work with. If there is something that is starting to feel off, if you're starting to have a pain, or if you have a recurring injury and you're starting to notice some of those symptoms of it coming on, be proactive and address it before it becomes a bigger issue. So that can be different things. It may be rest, it may be medication, whatever it is. Be proactive, stay ahead of it, and make sure that any of these potential issues don't become big issues where we're missing races or missing large blocks of time. We only have so much time to train and race and to do these things. So we want to make sure that we are staying healthy as long and as much as possible. And then consult physical therapists, orthopedics, those kind of professionals as needed. So again, I'm a big advocate for this. Get those folks involved. Have a team of people that really know how to keep you healthy, keep you strong, and as needed, make sure that you are engaging with them. So a lot of times if I have an athlete that is experiencing an issue, maybe they're taking a couple days of rest, maybe doing some things to proactively try to fix that issue. But within a couple days, maybe a week, depending on what the issue is, that's when I'll say, okay, maybe it's time to go get some help. Go have it checked out by a PT, an ortho, chiropractor, whatever is needed. So make sure that you are engaging those professionals as needed. And prioritize sleep. So this is something that is absolutely crucial, and it's hard to do, especially as long course athletes. We do large amounts of training. Oftentimes this means waking up early to get in those large amounts of training before work and parenting and all those other things that we have to do. But Sleep is absolutely critical, not only to our training, but to our lives in general. So this is something we've seen only increase in importance over the last several years. More and more studies are coming out telling about how important it is to get good sleep, and not only the hours, but the quality as well. So that's something that's been a benefit of some of these wearable technologies now. We can see not only how much we slept, but how well we slept, how much REM sleep, how much deep sleep, all those kinds of things that can give us feedback and then allow us to improve on that. But this is basically where our body heals. This is where adaptation takes place. This is where hormones regulate. So all of these things that are absolutely critical to our improvement happen largely while we are asleep. So maximize that and get in the right amount of sleep, but also focus on the quality of sleep as well. And number 10, eat intentionally. So we oftentimes will focus on our race day nutrition, our training nutrition, but we need to be eating intentionally throughout our daily lives as well. So largely what this means is carbs to fuel our session, protein to recover. So not exclusively, but as a rule, we are primarily using carbohydrates in our training as fuel. And then we need that protein, whether we're doing a swim, bike, run session, a strength session, whatever the case may be, we need that protein to help recover, help to reestablish, build the muscle, all those types of things. Match your intake to your needs and your goals. So in the time of year where we are not training as much, we don't need to be consuming as much. If your goal is to reduce your weight prior to race day, take that into consideration as well. Once we get into the taper, this is something that is often a challenge because we've been training in large blocks. Therefore, we have created a large caloric need, so we eat a lot. And then as we reduce that training load as race day approaches, we need to taper off how much we're eating as well. Not necessarily one of the most fun parts of the taper, but what we don't want to do is overconsume as we taper. So we want to match our intake to our needs and our goals. Want to maximize anti-inflammatory foods and minimize inflammatory foods. So our training is actually creating a large amount of inflammation in the body. Inflammation in the body is not good for us. So we want to do everything we can to keep that inflammation down. So part of that is being cognizant of what we're consuming. So we want to maximize the anti-inflammatories, minimize those inflammatory foods. And also recommend consulting a dietitian. We've already heard from Taryn Richardson's fantastic dietitian. Just like a lot of these other things, I am a big advocate of involving professionals into this so that you can maximize this. Again, takes the guesswork out of it, and you'll get some good advice to know exactly, in this case, what you should be consuming, when you should be consuming it, how much you should be consuming to maximize your training, your recovery, and your goals. All right, so that's our 10, but I got a couple bonus tips. So these are a little bit more intangible, perhaps, but I felt like I would be remiss if I did not include these as well. So set ambitious, quantifiable, dated, accountable goals. This is something that really can help in motivation. It can help in benchmarking. And as you establish goals, and this is a great time of year to be doing that, we want to make sure that those goals are big and we can measure. Those goals are quantifiable so we can know when we've achieved them or not. Things like setting dates are great. And then we want to be accountable to those goals. So again, involving a coach or a training partner, something like that. Share those goals with someone so that you can be accountable to it. Pay it forward. I certainly would not be where I am in my triathlon career, nowhere near where I am or what I've been able to do and achieve if it weren't for those people that came before me, that taught me, that encouraged me, that lent me equipment, and basically set me up for an amazing lifestyle that triathlon is. So be aware of that. And as you have those opportunities to do it, pay it forward, involve new people in the sport, encourage them, let them borrow your stuff, give them your old stuff that's just sitting in the garage gathering dust, but pay it forward because chances are somebody paid it forward to you. Focus on gratitude and express it prior to race day. So this is one of my favorite tips. And a lot of times, whether it's an athlete I coach or somebody I met, they'll say, well, what is the tip you can give me for race day? What are you holding out on? It's like, well, I'm not holding out for anything and not holding anything back. But the one thing I do like to remind athletes immediately before a big race is to express their gratitude prior to race day. They'll be glad they did. We experience hardships out there on the race course. Oftentimes our mind will go to those that have allowed us to get there. They've supported us, encouraged us, our spouses, our kids, our coaches, all these people, our training partners that helped us throughout that journey. Express your gratitude to those people prior to the race. And then when they come to mind during the race, you'll be really glad that you had that conversation, that you wrote that note. I've received some amazing notes in the days leading into a race from folks that have expressed gratitude to me. And it absolutely means the world to me. And I know it has been beneficial to them as well. And then, of course, we want to have fun. Oftentimes we can really get into the weeds, really get into the minutia, and sometimes we can forget to have fun. And if we're not having fun, why are we doing it? So I want to wish you the absolute best of 2026. Make sure that you have lots of fun, that you go out and crush lots of big goals. And I would be happy. I would love to be a part of your journey. So let me know how I can be a part. Happy New Year and have a great 2026.